Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Balstria. Mr. DeJohn.
Here.
Mrs. Finney. Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A note for the record that Mr. Balestria is now present. Thank you. The purpose of this meeting this evening is to discuss and see the presentation by the GPD Group on the pool feasibility study. This evening, we have Mr. Ward with us, Mr. Gerson, and Mr. Darwish from the GPD Group. I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Ward.
Thank you for the opportunity to have GPD here to present the pool feasibility study. To give a brief recap on how we got here, in 2014, we hired Pod Design to perform a master plan study that was completed in 2015. We shared with them our lack of park space that Mayfield Heights has and asked them to put together a plan that would best utilize our park space and maximize efficiency. What you see here on the screen is the plan that was developed by POD in 2015. This plan calls for a multi-purpose field to be located where the current adult fields are, but it extends into the current pool area. That is why you see the current pool located at the Marsal side of the park. GPD was given this plan, this POD master plan, to use as a guide when conducting their feasibility study. City Engineer Dan Gerson is here with Mo Darwish to go over the feasibility plan and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Dan Gerson, City Engineer, GPD Group. I'm here with Mo Darwish. He's one of our principals at our company. We wanted to present the due diligence study that we were authorized to begin back in
is now in the conference.
So what we were tasked with is looking at the Marsal Road property where the current Dijon Community Center is, and I believe there's 2 or 3 ball fields.
President
We were tasked with looking at
is
this
now
piece of
in the
property.
conference.
We were tasked with looking at this piece of property to determine if it's feasible to put the pool there, and if it was feasible, what size pool could be there, and also the community center and how that would fit in with the highway, any environmental concerns, any geotechnical concerns that were on the area. If you're familiar with the property, this is kind of one of the things you see when you're driving down the highway. You see the dump where the service department is. You see the ball fields. They store the leaves there from the leaf program. And you also have the high-tension wires that run along the freeway. So I'm going to advance to the next slide here. So you should have already received this, but this is a site plan that we came up with. As part of the due diligence, what we wanted to do is we looked at where there were potential wetlands, if any. Due to the weather that we've been having and the lack of vegetation that's out there now, we don't have a final determination, but we do believe that that corner that's marked wetlands is a potential wetland of the park. So that area would be non-buildable, and so we held that off as a non-buildable area for the layout. The other thing we did is we did geotechnical borings. We did 6 borings, advanced them to about 15 feet. There were some reports that this used to be a fill from the Marsal Road, and so what we were doing is we were looking for debris, concrete, any fill that would not be normal. Now, we did 6 borings throughout that site, and we found none of that It's not to say that you won't find it in other pockets, but with 6 borings, you generally get a good sense that you won't find it. If you do find some, it won't be a vast amount. The other thing the geotechnical borings did is looked at the soils to determine if the soils would support a pool in a building or if there were any major deficiencies in the soil that you'd have to do extraordinary measures. The report did not find that the soils were of bad nature. They were fine to support a building or a pool in this nature. And then the other thing we ended up doing is we had to do a survey to find out where the easements were. And so there's an easement along the, would be the southerly edge of 271 where the high tension wires come across and then cross 271. And so we had to find that so that we knew we weren't building in that area, at least with the building and whatnot. The other challenges we had were the noise of the freeway. As you've been over there, if you've been to the Dijon Community Center, you hear the car noise, it's pretty loud. So we looked at, would it make sense to build a pool over there, and could you block it? One of the options we looked at would be a sound wall. We looked at mounding, and our final plan that we came up with is that if you orientate the building such that it's against the freeway, you get a good noise barrier, natural noise barrier from the building itself. That's evidenced if you go out there and you go behind the sound wall. The sound wall generally goes from the southwest corner and goes towards the northeast for a short distance. If you stand next to the sound wall in the freeway and then you go behind the sound wall, you get a very different sound effect from the freeway. It doesn't block all the noise, but it does a very good effect of doing that. And so we believe that the way the building would be orientated or could be orientated would block a lot of that sound from the pool and the surrounding areas. So if you look at what we have here, we have a community center, which is the kind of the lighter brown color. And then we have a lap pool. And then we have a zero depth entry pool, spray ground, and a playground, all contained in this area. One of the things that we did is we were sensitive to the residential properties to the west, and so we have a 70-foot buffer between their property and the pool amenities. In there, we could do additional landscaping. We do have a proposed walking path through there, but you could do some mounding landscaping to further enhance that if that becomes an issue. The other thing we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to have kind of the playground and the spray ground separated from the pool itself. So during when the pool's not open or during earlier or later in the season, you could still operate the spray ground and the playground and then fence off the pool and keep that separate. And so we've kind of orientated as you come across the Marsall Road, you can use the playground, and there's also in the building that's kind of a curvilinear building to the north that also has bathrooms and some amenities that would be open during the pool being closed with the spray ground and the playground being open. Right now, we have a building square footage of just over 32,000 square feet. We have a pool deck area of about 75,000 square feet. We have a water surface area of about 10,750 square feet, which excludes the spray ground, but includes the lap pool and the zero depth entry. And then on the site itself, we have 183 parking spaces provided. We looked at trying to do a nice connectivity to the other side of the park so that you could have overlapping parking when you have multiple events going on there. There's approximately 100 spaces on the opposite side of the park that you see that are in close proximity to the pool and the community center. So this plan is a further breakdown of what you have in there, and what we've done is we've broken down each of the building components into what is actually in there. And so the building to the north, in there you have a administration building, or I'm sorry, you have a manager tickets for cash for the pool. You have a first aid station, you have a lifeguard station, you have storage for equipment that's used for the pool. You have concessions. On the opposite side, you would have park restrooms. So again, you could use those restrooms if you're walking the trail and the pool's not open, the restrooms could be open. Or if you're using the playground, the pool's not open, the restrooms could be open. And then you'd have, on the main building, what you would have is you would have, this would double as the new community center. We would also be looking to put the Parks and Rec department over there so they can manage the community center better. There's a gymnasium for sports for the kids during the summer camps. The gymnasium also could double as a large gathering place if you need it for an emergency or if you have a larger party. But we broke down the rooms, meeting rooms, into 3 meeting rooms that would be, BDL opened them to 1 large room or separated into 3. And then we have an additional meeting room, small meeting room, about 875 square feet. There'd be kitchen facilities in the community center. And then you'd have also restroom facilities and changing facilities in that building for the pool itself. And again, you can see the square footage that we have for each of the units.